All right, so I want to start today with a question that I ask every single seller that I sit down with. And that question is this: are you spending money on things that you like, or are you spending money on things that buyers will actually pay a premium for? Because those two things are almost never the same. I cannot tell you how many times that I've walked into a house where a seller spent $8,000 installing a hot tub in the backyard, which they love, by the way. Totally get it. But then the front door looks like it belongs in a haunted house. The hot tub is not going to save you, I promise. So today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I would spend $10,000 before listing a home. Not guessing, not what feels good, what actually moves the needle on the final sales price. Here's the mental framework that I use, and once I explain this, you're gonna see every house differently. And when I walk into a home, I'm not looking at it like a homeowner. I'm not thinking about memories or what you paid for that light fixture back in 2014. I'm looking for friction. So what is friction? Friction is anything, and I mean anything that makes a buyer pause and think, I'm not gonna deal with this when I move in. Every single time a buyer has that thought, they're mentally deducting money from their offer, not consciously, maybe, but it's happening. I've seen it. I've watched buyers walk through homes in real time, and you can literally see their offer dropping with every friction point that they encounter. I always say a buyer who walks in and immediately starts making a mental to-do list is a buyer who is about to lowball you. So my entire pre-listing strategy is designed to do one thing: remove as many of those mental deductions as possible. My goal is to help you spend $10,000 in a way that will eliminate what I call $50,000 worth of mental deductions. That is the ROI that we're after. I'm Scott Moran, Maryland's tallest realtor, and I've spent my career looking through houses in an investor's lens. Everything that I'm about to show you comes from doing this over and over and over again across hundreds of listings. This is the exact line item budget that I use for my own clients, making sure that their home doesn't just sell, it sets the neighborhood record. Let's get into it. All right, phase one, and this is where we're gonna be dropping the biggest chunk of the budget, $3,500. I want to explain why, because sometimes sellers are gonna push back on this. Paint covers the most square footage for the least amount of money of anything that you can do to a house. Nothing else even comes close on a dollar per impact basis. And this is the part that most people miss. Most sellers only do half the job. They repaint the walls, they leave the ceilings, they leave the trim, and it looks fine, but not great. Here's what happens. A buyer walks into a freshly painted room, the walls look great, and their eyes drift up. And their ceiling is slightly yellow, maybe a little bit cracked at the tape joints, and in the moment, the spell is broken. They're back to thinking about projects instead of falling in love. So when I say $3,500 for a visual reset, I mean everything. Walls, ceiling, trim, the whole package. Now, let's talk strategy, because the color choice matters enormously in 2026. We are moving firmly away from high contrast accent walls. That trend had a great run, but today's buyers, they want flow. They want to walk from the living room into the hallway, into the kitchen, and feel like it's one cohesive, intentional space. When you've got creamy white in the living room, light mushroom in the hallway, some leftover agreeable gray in the kitchen, the house looks chopped up. It feels like decisions were made one room at a time over 10 years, because they were. The strategy we're using is what I call one color strategy. Pick one warm neutral, and we run it through the entire house. I'm not going to name a specific brand because honestly, the exact shade depends on your lighting. North-facing rooms need something warmer. South-facing rooms, they can handle something slightly cooler, but the principle is the same. Now here's the pro level finish strategy that painters who are just doing a quick job, they don't always tell you. There are 3 different finishes and each one has a job to do. Ceilings, they get flat finish. Why? Because flat absorbs light. It doesn't reflect it, which does mean that every tape joint, every imperfection, every popcorn texture that you couldn't fully scrape off, it's gonna disappear. Flat ceilings look higher, they look intentional. Now the walls, they get eggshell. It has just enough sheen that you can wipe off a fingerprint or a smudge, which matters a lot during showings, but it doesn't look shiny or institutional. And the trim, that's gonna get semi-gloss. This is your outline. This is what makes the walls pop. When you've got clean white semi-gloss trim against an eggshell wall, the whole room is gonna look crisp. It looks like a frame around a painting. And here's something that I genuinely believe from experience. When a buyer walks into a home that smells like fresh paint and looks put together, something psychological is gonna happen. Their shoulders drop. Their pace is gonna slow down. They stop rushing through rooms because some part of their brain has already decided this feels like home. That's not an accident. That's what we're engineering. All right, phase 2. This is my personal favorite because it's a sneaky effective and almost nobody talks about it. We're gonna be spending $1,500 on what I call the hardware sweep. And the reason that it works is because of something called micro friction. Micro friction is the stuff that buyers don't consciously register, but it absolutely shapes how they feel about the house. Let me give you an example. I was showing a home a few years back. Beautiful home, great bones, well priced, and I watched a buyer walk up to the front door, grab the handle, and the handle had a little bit of wobble to it. She didn't say anything, but I saw her face change, just slightly, and from that moment on, she was problem finding mode instead of fall in love mode. That $8 door handle cost the seller thousands of dollars in negotiations. So here's how I break down the $1,500. The entryway is the first place to spend, and it's non-negotiable. We're replacing the lock set and handle with a modern heavy-duty smart lock combo. And I emphasize heavy duty because weight does matter. When a buyer grabs that solid feeling handle and it has some real mass to it, it communicates quality. Smart locks are a bonus because they photograph well and they're genuinely valued by buyers today. The kitchen is where we're gonna do the most visual bang for our buck. We're gonna be swapping out whatever round builder grade knobs are on those cabinets for a 5-inch T-bar pole. Now, I know what you're thinking. Scott, that sounds like a small thing. It is not a small thing. I have watched the same kitchen, same cabinet, same counters, everything look identical, and then it looked like a $15,000 renovation just from new hardware. T-bars are real modern. They read intentional. And buyers today, especially millennial buyers who have been on Zillow for 3 years dreaming of what that updated kitchen looks like, they're gonna find it here. The bathroom is where we're gonna round out everything in one clean sweep. We're gonna be matching the towel bars, the toilet paper holder, the robe hook, if there is one, and it's all gonna be the same finish. This might sound obsessive, and here's what consistency signals. It signals that someone had thought about this house. It signals care. And in real estate, perceived care, it's gonna translate directly into perceived maintenance. When everything matches, the house feels curated. When nothing matches, the house feels assembled by accident. And phase 3 is something that I call the 7-second rule. It's not a metaphor, it's real. You have about 7 seconds from the moment that a buyer pulls up to your house to make a first impression. 7 seconds before they even open the car door, before they've stepped foot on the property. And just from the street, and I'm not exaggerating, watch buyers sit in their car, look at a house and say, you know what? Let's just go see the next one. That house was priced $30,000 below market, but it didn't matter. So for $2,000, we're doing a full landscape redesign. We're doing a targeted facelift on 3 things that have the highest visual impact from the street. Their power wash is the first move, and it's the most underrated thing on the entire list. I'm not just talking about the siding. I want the driveway, the sidewalk, the porch, the front steps, everything. You would be stunned by how much grime accumulates over 10 years that you genuinely stop seeing because you're used to it. A clean driveway photographs like a new driveway, and that matters enormously because the first thing that everyone's gonna see when they hop on Zillow or online is the driveway. If it looks grimy in the photos, they're just gonna swipe right past you. The mulch move is my secret weapon, and specifically black mulch. I want to explain here why people want to go with black mulch over brown. Brown mulch, when it's fresh, it looks fine. And it fades to gray almost immediately. And in photographs, it looks indistinguishable from dirt. Black mulch, it's gonna stay dark. And the reason that black mulch is magical is the contrast. Black mulch is gonna make the green in the grass look greener. It makes the colors of your flowers or your shrubs look more saturated. And it's gonna make the whole bed look designed rather than neglected. In photos, it looks like a professional landscaper just finished the job this morning. The lighting is the final piece, and it's one of those things that delivers value around the clock. You cannot control when buyers are gonna drive by, whether it's an evening showing or during the day. If you've got 20-year-old bug-filled yellow globe light in the front door, replace it. Get an oversized modern lantern, something with a little presence to it. And when that light is on at dusk for an evening showing, it's going to transform the entire entryway. It makes the whole house look like a sanctuary. And here we are at the final $3,000. This is what I call the closer, because everything that we've done up to this point has gotten the buyer to the door. It got them through the rooms. It might have got them feeling good. The last phase is what turns a buyer who is interested into a buyer who is emotionally attached. And emotionally attached buyers, they don't negotiate. They don't want to lose the house. We're splitting this money between professional deep cleaning and targeted staging. Let me take them one at a time. Staging first. Here's the psychology. Empty rooms look small. Cluttered rooms look messy. Staged rooms, they look aspirational. When I walk into a property that's staged, I'm not seeing furniture. I'm seeing the version of my life that I want to live. I'm seeing the Sunday morning where I'm on the couch with a cup of coffee and a book on the table. And that's not an accident. Professional stagers are trained to sell a lifestyle, not just a layout. They know how to make a bedroom feel like a boutique group hotel. They know how to turn a weird alcove into a reading nook. And every buyer on the tour mentions when they're talking to their spouse in the parking lot afterwards. One thing I'll say about staging, you don't always need to stage every single room with full furniture, especially if a home is owner occupied and the furniture is decent. What we're always doing, regardless of furniture situation, is accessory staging. The coffee table books, the tray on the kitchen, the throw blanket on the chair. These are the details that make a house look like a magazine shoot rather than a for sale property. Now the deep clean. And when I say deep clean, I mean really deep. I'm not talking about running a vacuum. I'm talking about cleaning the tracks in the siding glass doors, the black grime that collects in there over years. I'm talking about wiping the dust off the top of the refrigerator. I'm talking about cleaning the inside of the light fixtures, the grout lines, the inside of the oven. Here's why this matters on a psychological level. Buyers, they cannot see inside the walls. They can't see the roof decking. They can't see the plumbing. What they can see is how clean the visual parts are, and they use that as a proxy for everything that they can't see. A spotless house signals to a buyer on a gut level that the people who lived here took care of it. And that builds trust. In real estate, trust equals higher offers and fewer repair requests. It is one of the highest ROI things that you can possibly do. Okay, so let's zoom out and talk about why all of this works. Because I want you to understand the strategic logic, not just copy the line items. The real estate market in 2026 is being driven by buyers who are in many cases stretched thin. They scrape together a down payment. They've budgeted down to the dollar for what they can afford monthly. And after they close, they often do not have a spare $20,000 or $30,000 sitting around to fix things up. So when buyers walk into a home that needs work, even minor work, they have two choices. They can walk away, or they can lower their offer to account for the renovation costs. Either way, you lose. And when they walk into a turnkey home, clean, fresh, nothing on the to-do list, they can roll all of it into their mortgage. They just pay the higher price and get the perfect house. That is exactly what we want. That is how you generate multiple offers. That is how you negotiate an as-is, no inspection contingency. And the $10,000 that you spend strategically doesn't just add $10,000 of value. When done right, it removes every friction point, eliminates the mental deductions, and positions your home as the best product on the market in your price range. That is the whole game. If you're in Maryland and you want to know specifically which of these moves will have the highest ROI for your neighborhood, your home, your price point, I do a custom listing roadmap where I'll walk the property with you, tell you everything that you need to spend money on, and just as importantly, where not to spend. Because not every single house needs all four phases. Some houses need a version of phase one and nothing else. I'll tell you the truth. There's a link in the description to grab my 2026 pre-listing checklist, and it's free. And it's the same checklist that I use before every single one of my listings. Feel free to download it, walk your house with it, and think about seeing your home through a completely different set of eyes. Shoot me a DM if you have questions, drop your questions in the comments. I read all of them, and I'll love to see you in the next one. I'm Scott Moran. Go get a record sale.